Well, hello, slingers. Welcome to the WordSlinger Podcast. And we got another solo slinger episode for you today. And I'm talking about something I think you're going to be interested in. So stick around.
It's the WordSlinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tumlinson, the WordSlinger.
WordSlinger.
Well, hello there. Welcome back to another WordSlinger Podcast. I am Kevin Tumlinson, the WordSlinger, and I'm happy to have you here. Today, I'm kind of in this, this is going to be a different episode. Let's just start right there. So I am preparing to leave for New Orleans in a couple of days. I'm going to be at the Writer MBA conference in New Orleans, put on by Monica Leonel and Russell Nolte and some others that I have known and come to love over the years in the industry. Should be a good conference. I haven't been to this one before, so this will be a new experience. And I gotta say, I don't think that Draft to Digital is actually going to be there. I was kind of looking at the guest list, the attendees list. I didn't see them as a sponsor or anything, so they may not have any interest in the conference. It's odd to me, but it happens. But I am going to be there, and I actually am going as a sponsor because I think the announcement's been made officially by now. Maybe not. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here a little, but so as of February, I was invited by the guys who founded BookBrush to come on board with something new that they're doing. It's called Author Anchor, and it is a service that connects authors with virtual assistants. And this is something. So I've got a lot of reasons why this is exciting to me. So they brought me on as the chief branding officer. So that's one reason. I mean, I'm a C-level, I'm a C-suite guy again. I haven't been in the C-suite since I left book sweeps rather. It's just too many things named book in my life. Too many things named book. Too many things named author. But it was about a year ago now. Actually, I think it may be a year ago today that I stepped down as CEO of Book Sweeps, and wasn't sure I was going to do anything remotely like that again. But when Josh and the team kind of came to me with this idea of something they're launching, I got excited about it, and here's why. Now you've heard everyone's talking about AI, artificial intelligence. You by now know what AI means. I don't know why I even said that, but everyone's talking about AI, and AI has been a remarkable tool for authors. There's the group out there that's going to try to use it to be kind of scammy and do the writing for them and do the work for them and whatever. And there's panic about AI replacing people in creative industries, that sort of thing. I've never seen it that way. I actually see it as a tool, just like, Photoshop was a tool. Back in the day, Photoshop really got hammered because, especially by photographers, because it was cheating, because it was going to put photographers out of business and that sort of thing, which we know didn't happen. Same was said for digital photography. Same was said for nonlinear video editing. Same has been said for all kinds of technology. I actually just posted recently, like yesterday, when text messaging emerged, when text messaging emerged, people kind of crapped all over it because you could just make a phone call. Why would you send a text? You could just make a phone call. But when telephones emerged, people were critical of it, because you could just send a text by telegraph. Why would you need to talk to someone on the phone? So there's always going to be resistance to new technology. that's not the point of this episode. So, as I've kind of moved along in my career, there's been times in my career where I've had employees and contractors and occasionally a virtual assistant. And I've always found it kind of useful, but ultimately it ends up being kind of expensive. And so I would back off of it because, the whole point of having a virtual assistant is to take things off of your plate, but also do it in such a way that you can kind of increase your revenue possibilities. Okay, so it doesn't do you any good to have a tool or an employee or contractor or something. It does you no good to bring something like that on to make things easier if it costs you more to use it. So I've had various experiences with this. I've run marketing departments for a couple of decades, and so I've worked with a lot of people remotely, especially. And so anyway, here's where I'm going with all this. Artificial intelligence has given us some remarkable tools, and it's improving all the time. But there is a component of this work that just goes smoother, feels better, gets better results when you have human intelligence to interact with. And so that's one of the things that was interesting me. So there's a common, we'll say, problem, I guess, for every writer, every creative, but writers in particular. There's a phrase you hear all the time in one form or another, and that is, you'll hear someone lament about things like marketing, and they'll say, I don't want to have to deal with marketing or the business side of this. I just want to write. I want to just write. And so this is why I got excited about this idea. This is an opportunity for you to just write. That's what I've concluded. In working with my own VA, here's what's happening. Marketing. I spend a lot of time doing the marketing side of my business. Time that I'd really rather not spend. I'd rather spend that time with, on crafting a story, crafting the books, and enjoying that process. But I end up stressing myself out. I got burnt out. You've heard me talk about this before. I got severely and seriously burnt out to the point where I wasn't writing anymore for a while there. So I've learned strategies to deal with a lot of that stuff. I've taken some things off my plate. There's a lot there. AI has actually helped a lot with certain things. But there were just always aspects of it that I couldn't just simply hand over to an AI. I mean, maybe I could with a lot of time spent figuring out how to get it to interact, because there are like AI assistants who will make calls and reservations and things for you. I'm not at a point where I trust that yet, honestly. But I'm also kind of at a point where I feel like I've done enough all on my own and all alone. I needed more human interaction in my life. And I also felt like there were just certain tasks that a human's more capable of doing well and handling. Because an AI is going to do effectively what they're programmed to do. And a human being can think outside the box and take initiative and do things that maybe you didn't realize you needed them to do. So when the BookBrush folks approached me about Author Anchor, I got excited about it, and so I got a VA of my own. Her name is Aya. She's incredible. She's amazing. All these folks are in the Philippines. So what's happened is, in working with her, I've been able to start handing things off bit by bit, but it's happening more and more, to take care of some of the marketing side of what I do, to promote things like this show, to promote my Substack, the writer, to and of course to promote Author Anchor, to help me book podcasts and book YouTube shows and media appearances. And then there came this conference. So Author Anchor is a sponsor. I get a talk. I'm going to talk about working with VAs and this very subject. I'm going to be, discussing a lot of the same things I'm going to be talking about here. But what's interesting is conferences have always stressed me out. I go to a lot of them, as you probably know, and organizing the whole thing, getting set up, making sure that I've got hotel reservations, flights booked, I've got a parking spot reserved for my vehicle at the airport. I've got, then there's the things I got to carry with me, signs and tablecloths and swag. And, so organizing all that stuff always takes a ton of time. And so and too much time. I mean, I've got other things. Frankly, there's other things I want to do, but there's other things I have to do that I just can't peel off that kind of time every time I go to a conference, which is frequent. So I've been training Aya to take some of this on, do some of this for me, and it's hard for me to let some of it go because there's a kind of trust factor there. But the more wins we have together, the more trust there is. So what I'm learning in the process then is when you're going to work with a VA, start with the small stuff. Don't try immediately to offload all the things that are burdening you, but instead pick something, work with them, get those small wins, and the more of those small wins you get, the more momentum you build, and then the relationship starts to develop and grow, and the trust starts to grow, and then you can start handing off more. That's what I'm discovering. If you're looking for a best practice tip for working with a VA, that's number one. And the relief that I feel by handing off, like, hey, look, here's the hotel, here's the conference webpage. That's what I said. Here's the conference webpage. Figure out where the hotel is, book me a room, make sure you get a conference rate, make sure it's associated with the conference, put it on my calendar, block my calendar, set up a Calendly thing for the appointments that I need to make while I'm there. Get me the information I need on what's happening on what dates. Order the stuff I need sent there and have it sent there. All that stuff. I was able to just slowly hand that off. I haven't gotten to where I'm handing over like, hey, go book my flight yet, per se. I think I've got it figured out where I can do this, but there's a lot of work actually up front. When I first brought on a VA, it was a ton of work for me up front, to the point where I was stressing about it. Like, I'm doing more work now than I was before. But that work, it slowly gets trimmed down, because what's happening is, as I train her in what I need and in how I need things to work, she runs with it, and then I don't have to do that work again. And so it takes more and more off my plate as we go. So it's been kind of incredible to do this, to work with someone on this. I've done this before, but never quite this way. It's always been sort of in the name of something else. This is the first time really that I've brought on a VA specifically for my own stuff, for me, for Kevin Tumlinson. She's helping with the Author Anchor stuff, but we're doing it in I have a lot of silos to my business, and she's slowly becoming engaged in each of those silos. And so our relationship is being specifically tailored for Kevin Tumlinson and everything Kevin Tumlinson does. That's been interesting. I'm loving it. It's helped a lot. And here's the key. The key to knowing whether you need a VA or could use a VA, whether that's going to be a good move for you, a good decision for you, is to look at this as when I hand this thing off, is that going to allow me to do something that can make more revenue for me so that I can, justify the expense of hiring someone? And in this case, that was an easy layup, because the nature of Author Anchor made this a much more affordable option for me than I was expecting. So here's the deal. The last time I hired someone as a VA, it was costing me something like $35 an hour. They were great. There was a minimum number of hours that I had to hire them for each month. It was 10 hours a week. That's pretty common. A minimum 10 hours a week. So that's $350 a week. So, every month I was putting, about $1,500 into this resource. And she was good and she helped a lot, but it meant it was an additional $1,500 burden on everything I was doing at a time when I really needed I needed more money to go into marketing than anything else, and she wasn't really handling much of the marketing side of things. Now, fast forward to now, and also that VA was a sort of generalized VA, and she didn't understand the things that were key components of my business as a writer. So I was having to train her in that, and there was kind of a disconnect. And so as new technologies would emerge, like, say BookFunnel, I would have to teach her how to use BookFunnel, but because she didn't have a grasp of like what my process was as a writer, what the things that I depend on as a writer, that would kind of become challenging. It fell apart. So it was a good experience, but not a great experience. Fast forward to now. So one of the things that's interesting about Author Anchor, one of the reasons I agreed to come on board, because I'm only going to represent things that I believe in, right? That I would use myself, that I think are beneficial to the author community. I'm going to start off flat out by saying, because I had one author contact me after a webinar recently about this, and she asked, "Is it really worth the money?" I'm gonna give you the dollar figure in a second, but is it really worth that amount of money each month? Would I benefit? Because I don't really even make that much money yet. My answer is no. Then, if you're not making enough to pay for that, it's not going to start magically earning you more money. It could in its way. If you're handing off the marketing side, which is kind of key, then it could actually, pay for itself. But I would say, that's a question, can you justify that as an expense? It's sort of the same question you ask, like, can I justify throwing X amount of dollars into Facebook ads each month? You may not be making that much off of book sales yet, but the marketing could help get you there. That's the question you got to answer. Can I use this? Will this get me to a point where it can pay for itself? First of all, if I could just get it to pay for itself, that might be worth the experiment. So here's the deal. Author Anchor, the premise of the whole service is, one, they go and they find these VAs who live and work out of the Philippines. So this is all remote work. These Filipino workers are often doing this as a kind of side hustle gig or whatever. They're doing it like Aya is actually, she's getting her master's degree. And so this work is allowing her to work her own hours, work around her schedule, and make plenty of money to pay for her, her apartment and pay for her grad school and everything that she needs. It's working out really great for her. And we are training Aya and others to do the things that authors need. This is all about getting them specifically trained for the needs of this set of people, this community, the author community. So that's handy. I'm stumbling a little here because I'm working up to something, so forgive me. So here's the deal. The rate for this, Author Anchor charges, it's like $99 a month for access to this. That $99 pays for those programs that train. We just did this whole deal where we trained, because BookFunnel came up. I mean, we trained all these VAs on all the ins and outs of BookFunnel, so that they could go and do all the tasks that authors need done in BookFunnel. That's what that $99 pays for, stuff like that. We're training them. We're paying for licenses for software that they can use. If you want your VA to be able to use Vellum or to use, all these things. I'm not saying we're giving you a free license of Vellum here. Don't take that the wrong way. But in order to train them, but there might be other tools that's part of our long-term strategies to create resources that these VAs can use on your behalf. And that means paying, individual licenses or getting some sort of enterprise license or whatever. So that's where that $99 a month goes to. For the VA, their rates are, start around $5 an hour with a 10-hour a week minimum, right? So if you remember, I was paying $35 an hour at 10 hours. So $5 an hour at 10 hours a week. So that's like $200 a month. So grand total, you're spending around $300 a month and getting around 40 hours of work out of this person. That was one of the things that sold me on the idea. It's something affordable that I think most authors, if you are making any revenue whatsoever from your books, you are going to be much more likely to be able to afford bringing on a VA resource with this service. I'm always leery of predatory services that they're just trying to bilk writers for as much as they can get or whatever. But this is first of all, I trust Josh and Corey. I've known them for years. I helped them. I was there at the beginning of BookBrush. Ran into them at NINC in Florida when they were still called Covers Sell Books, and said, you got to change the name. helped them with deciding on a name, deciding on a brand, logo. Introduced them to a bunch of people in the industry. I was there at the birth of BookBrush and very proud of it. And they're great guys like me. They're Christians. They're believers. And they want to genuinely help. So that's the sort of thing I look for in a partner. And so I was real excited when they brought this idea to me for a variety of reasons. But that affordability angle is number one, I think. Actually, number one is the ability, giving authors the ability to hand off these little tasks that soak up their time, the admin tasks, running it. You're always told you need to run this like a business, but that's a lot of us, that's not a comfortable experience, and we don't know enough to do it, and we don't have the time or energy to do it. And so having a partner, a contractor who can do this stuff on your behalf becomes very freeing, and not having to spend thousands a month on it is even better. The great thing here is the Filipino workers. So there's a gap, there's a space we can play in here when it comes to the money, because the exchange rate between the US dollar and I forget what the Philippines, what they call I think they may call it the dollar, but the exchange rate in currencies creates a kind of halo wealth kind of thing, because their cost of living is much lower, and the things they can do much more with that. Well, that money means more. It just goes further for them. So what seems cheap to us is starts to become wealth to them, which is interesting. But here's the good news too. This is something I'm telling people right away, because I've been asked before about, there are concerns about, no one wants to get into something that exploits somebody, and I'm right there with you. I'm in that same crowd. So one of the first questions I had was about that, and what I discovered was the answer to that is $5 an hour is just the minimum. You can pay whatever you want, and what I intend to do is, like, over time, I'm just going to bump that up. And offer her more, like do bonuses, do bounties, like you bring me, because I need more readers, right? So or I also need more. I need to be on more podcasts and things like that. So if there's opportunities there, I'm going to try to reward her and make. Basically, what I'm saying is I want her to be a part of Team Kevin. And Team Kevin gets treated well. That's the whole point, Anyone who's worked with me, and go talk to them. Go find, all the people that worked under me, in various roles. Talk to Jim Azevedo at Draft Digital. I do what I can to take care of the people who work under me, and I always have, and always will. So anyway, the whole point here. I'm going to be paid by this. I'm not making any money on it yet. I get a certain cut of the revenue from the business, but only if if I do the work, and the work includes things like every now and then I'm going to talk to you guys about this, and every now I'm going to be going to conferences and talking about it. So there's a lot of work ahead for me. And it's really kind of a blessing to have some help in that. But the key here is that this is a resource that's specifically designed by people who are already an upstanding part of the author community. They're vetted, they're proven. BookBrush is a great service and offers it extends the value of the author community, or the resources that they provide for the author community. It's been a remarkable brand. I've seen it grow. I've been blessed to be a part of its growth in tangential ways, and now I can be a more direct part of that in serving the author community again in this role. So, and if you've been around for any length of time in the WordSlinger sphere, and following me anytime I do anything, the stuff I do for Author Nation, the stuff I did for Draft Digital, the stuff I do on the Writers Inc. podcast, my whole goal with that stuff is to help you and to serve you. And so for the time being, that means I'm doing a whole lot of work for no money whatsoever. But I see the potential in this thing, not just for me financially. I think, the more people who sign up, the more money that means for me, and that's amazing. But I also see the potential in this, like that combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence is, I think, going to become the thing that pushes us into a whole new era in publishing. Publishing has already changed. It's already a new beast. It's already brand new. And so I think that what we're going to see over the next 5 years is a shift in first there needs to be a shift in the way we think about publishing and the way we think about our careers. But there was this whole thing where the mid-list disappeared in traditional publishing. I've always argued that mid-list is us. The mid-list came here, became indie publishers. And now with opportunities like Author Anchor, there's this shift where I think we're going to surpass what the mid-list could have ever hoped for. The heyday of the mid-list was like the 80s, where readers just couldn't find enough books to read, and so they discovered brand new authors who, some of them went on to become superstars. But then, because of the finicky nature of the way the publishing business works, they only started focusing on the mega bestsellers. And so, you got a lot of people left out in the cold, and you get a lot of the same stuff over and over again. Just like in the film industry, we're getting the same movie over and over again because that's what has made them money in the past. So the innovation, the experimentation isn't there. But what I'm seeing is a whole new era emerging where the next Star Wars, the next Indiana Jones, the next Alien franchise, or the next Titanic, or the next, I don't know, Lord of the Rings, whatever. That next thing, that's going to start with you. You're the one who's going to create that, and it's not dependent on an outside system. And I think the way we get to the next era, and I've got some other things brewing on that front, by the way, and I'll be talking about that in the future. But because I'm looking for you, if you think you've got the next big idea, the next big franchise, the next big MCU or whatever, talk to me, because I've got something brewing. But here's the deal. Here's what's happening right now is we can get to a whole new era, but it's going to take help. And AI isn't going to be able to cut it by itself. But AI combined with human intelligence, HI, that will. And so this is an opportunity. It's affordable. It's reliable. It's coming from a trusted source. I'm putting my name on it so you know that I trust it. It's going to be pretty incredible. So if you want to try it out, and you can actually, if you go to authoranchor.com, you can sign up to do a one-on-one chat with someone who will help onboard you with the idea. They're going to talk to you, give you kind of an overview of how this works, and then they're going to connect you with 3 or 4 VAs that you'll interview to see if you like them. And you can go through as many of these interviews as you want, but the key here is ask a lot of questions that are specific to your needs, right? And you don't be afraid to ask them what they suggest. Get their insight too. They've been doing this for a while, so they're getting pretty sharp about this. But the whole point here is this is finally an opportunity for you to have a resource that can handle the business side, the marketing, all those things on your behalf, so that you can just write. And that is probably the most appealing benefit that I can think of. Hey, it's Kevin Tumlinson here, and I want to talk to you about something that's made a real difference in my work over the years, and that is ProWritingAid. I've been using this for years. It's hands down the best assistive editing tool that I've found. And what I love most is that it works wherever I write. So whether I'm in Scrivener, Microsoft Word, Substack, or anywhere else, ProWritingAid is right there with me. And unlike other tools, I get control over the kind of suggestions it gives me. So there's no rigid rules. It's just smart, actionable feedback that's tailored to my writing. And the best part is that the team behind ProWritingAid actually cares about independent writers and creators. They're focused on helping individual creators like you and me, not just big enterprise customers. And that is unfortunately becoming a kind of rare thing these days. And that's why I'm proud to support them. So if you're serious about leveling up your writing wherever or however you write, go to ProWritingAid.com and use the code KEVIN20 at checkout for 20% off of your subscription. That's ProWritingAid.com, code KEVIN20. And trust me, you'll be glad you did. I'm going to be at Writer MBA next week, the week of the 16th, I think, or 17th. Yeah, I'll be gone 17th through the 21st. Actually, I'll be gone 16th through the 23rd. But if you happen to be in New Orleans, or if you happen to be going to that conference, make sure you say hi. Drop in. So I may not be able to do an episode next week, but we'll see. I'm taking some stuff with me because I inadvertently scheduled some interviews and things that I need to do while I'm there. So I might get a chance to record an episode, but anyway, I'm going to be talking about this at Writer MBA. I don't know what I called it. If I may have called it something else earlier, sorry. It's Writer MBA conference in New Orleans. Make sure you show up if you're in the area, and otherwise, reach out to me if you want to talk about Author Anchor. You can actually get the first month of Author Anchor for half off if you tell them I sent you. Tell them you heard about this on the WordSlinger podcast. But authoranchor.com, go sign up for a chat. And if you're confused or you want to clarify something before you do that, I understand. You can always reach out to me here. You can go to my website. If you go to wordslingerpodcast.com, you'll be able to find a way to reach out to me one way or the other. And I'm happy to talk about this. This is an exciting new thing. I'm kind of learning some things myself. The concept is going to grow over time. I'm real thrilled about it. I think it's game changer. I think it's the thing we've been needing as a community for a while, is an accessible way to do this. And I had hoped it would come along, but for $300 a month, I mean, I know that for a lot of people that's not a reasonable amount of money to spend, and so that's fine. But it's for a lot of you though, I think this could pivot your author career. I think it could make a big difference. But that's a decision you need to make, though. It's not for everybody. That's the key. It may not be for you. It may be something you have to do later. But anyway, so for that, we're going to wrap up. That was definitely something I wanted to talk about. I'm definitely going to be talking about it more. I'm very excited and happy about this new turn. I would love for it to start making some money. That would be great. I like money. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Keep tuning in every week. Make sure you share this episode in particular with people. You may know somebody who's been thinking about a VA or looking for a VA. Make sure you like, share, subscribe in general on YouTube and elsewhere. Go to wordslingerpodcast.com where you can follow me. Even follow my Substack, The Writer _. The Writer is my Substack newsletter there. And reach out and say hello. So, otherwise, maybe I'll see you in New Orleans next week. But if I don't, then we will catch up soon.
Words.
Take care.